So, from the start of the pandemic, we've heard the very general statement from a bunch of different people who may or may not know what they're talking about. When it warms up, the virus is going to go away. And that suggests this kind of seasonality to the virus, and it implies the virus can't survive in warmer weather. And we don't actually have evidence of that at this point, and it appears to be sort of too simplistic of a hypothesis. But we do now have a very good paper that's looking at the issue of temperature, and it has found that there appears to be a temperature and humidity combination present in the places that have become sort of centers of infection and spread. The paper is called Temperature, Humidity, and Latitude Analysis to Predict Potential Spread and Seasonality for COVID-19. It's a mouthful, but essentially what they did is they looked at the cities that had large amounts of community spread and the disease getting established, and they looked at the climate data from those cities to see, is there a pattern where the virus is taking hold versus where the virus is not? And indeed, check out what they found. They found that there was significant community spread in cities and regions along a narrow east-west distribution, roughly along the 30 to 50 degree north corridor, at similar weather patterns consisting of average temperatures of 5 to 11 degrees Celsius, combined with low, specific, and absolute humidity. Going on to say there's been a lack of significant community establishment in expected locations based only on population proximity and extensive population interaction through travel. So it's not just the temperature. The temperature seems to be 5 to 11 C, which is 41 to 52 Fahrenheit, but also specific humidity ranges. And in fact, places where you would expect the virus to become established based on proximity and travel, it has not when the temperature and humidity haven't matched up with these parameters. So this tells us a few different things. This tells us there may be a seasonal component here, but it's more complex than just temperature. It's temperature and humidity. We conceivably could predict, knowing what the temperature and humidity ranges tend to be as we get into spring and fall, we could predict where over the coming months we might see more and less spread on this basis. And this is one of the first more plausible explanations, more specifically, of why it got so bad in Wuhan, Italy, Iran, South Korea, and some specific other places, Seattle as another example. Again, these are correlations. We don't yet have a causal link. This is just one study, but this is also important to be considering. Now, also important is the understanding that a lot of the United States may enter those ranges as we get into spring and summer. So you have when the entire climate and temperature thing, there's a few different elements to it. On one hand, there's the question of whether the virus itself can survive as the temperature goes up. So sometimes when people say, well, when it gets warmer, the virus is going to start to die out or it's going to last less, that's a question mark. We don't know that to be the case. When we think of the flu, it is true that in places like the northeast of the US where I live, the flu epidemics tend to go away when it gets warm. But if you look at places that are warm year round, they also still have flu transmission. The flu seems to adapt to the warmer temperatures in those areas. So the question of whether COVID-19 and the virus that causes it can survive in warmer temperature, that's one question. When it gets warmer, people also tend to be outside more and more spread out on average than inside in office buildings and close proximity. That's another factor, but if we're self-isolating, socially distancing, and working from home, does that make a difference? But then lastly is this new issue of the actual temperature and humidity ranges at which the virus is more transmissible, more easily being transmitted. The bad news about this study, even though it shows a possible seasonal component, is that a lot of that belt is going to be including much of the United States with that optimal criteria. So the odds that it simply goes away when we get into spring and summer on the basis of temperature and humidity without additional intervention like social distancing, finding treatments, et cetera, is very, very low. We're going to have to keep doing exhibiting behaviors that for a lot of us aren't fun, but it's just going to have to happen. There's no way around it. One of our sponsors today is Vincero Watches, giving you 15% off your entire order when you go to davidpakman.com/watch. Don't pay thousands of dollars for a high quality watch that looks great, because you don't have to. All of Vincero's watches are made with high-end materials, masterfully built, and they look like something you'd spend a ton of money on. But every Vincero watch ranges from about $150 to $300. I went over to their website and picked out the Bellwether in silver and white. Really nice, elegant look. It's a chronograph style. Wore it to a gala over the weekend. And a lot of people asked me, where's the watch from? Really, really great look. Totally different. They also sent me the Altitude in matte black and red. A much more rugged view of what a watch can look like. Really like it as well as the athletic strap. It's a new year, it's a new decade, it's time to reestablish your style, add something new to your look, and a high quality watch is the perfect way to do that. You can get 15% off Vincero's entire collection when you go to davidpakman.com/watch.